belong. We make our contribution. Don't leave us out. Remember, we are the ones who make the jump, who make you jump up and prance. We're in the middle of the carnival. We are the ones keep up the bacchanal. We are the ones who make the jump, make you jump up and prance. Working to make this fun and secret. Greatest summer festivity, and yet we treated calypsonians and band like dirt.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to We're the Ones. And I played the wrong song in the intermission. I did. But it's only now it dawned on me. So guess what? Since I played the wrong song in the intermission. Happy birthday to ya. Wait, it was yesterday?
Yes, it was.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. In studios with me. This is like a milestone moment. I can't tell them what the milestone is.
It's just a milestone moment.
Okay. So, in studios with me is the legendary, always well put together, poised. When I see her, this how I look extra nice-ish today because I knew she was coming. So I have to step up the dressing game. When you see her, even if you were slouching, you want to just come erect and assume the correct posture. Make sure your diction is on point and you are well. Good afternoon, Miss Nibbs. How are you?
I am doing really well.
And happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. And if you know me, I celebrate for the whole month of February. So it's never too late to say happy birthday.
Yes, I welcome to We're the Ones. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
It is my distinct pleasure to have I get her to blush. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been wanting to do this for so long. She kind of blushed a little bit. But anyways. Yes. Okay. So, happy birthday, Miss Nibbs, from Miss Jarvis, Faustina Jarvis.
Hello, thank you very much.
Hold on. A professional and phenomenal woman. You see why you open my legend series? Ladies and gentlemen, every week we do a special interview with a personality, and it's not just a personality, it's someone who impacts our community. I think I told Shirlene about We're the Ones. We're the Ones is about us, it's for us, and it's by us. So you have made an indelible, still making mark on the footprints of not just Antigua and Barbuda, but regionally, and I dare say globally. And so we're pleased to have you with us today as we spend a little bit of time with you. And I know many people know like a little bit of Shirlene here, a little bit of Shirlene here. Many of us know the public Shirlene. They know that very poised and all together one. I don't even think there's a less poised than together one. Good afternoon, Yandy. Yandy, what you do ya? Yandy, why are you here? Oh, sorry, baby. Yes. Of course, we know we couldn't have Miss Nibbs in the house without Yandy. Yandy, good afternoon. Miss Nibbs. You know how we begin these interviews. I don't know if you've ever listened, but I'm going to tell you this way. Well, who are your people?
Who are my people?
Yeah, where you come from? Which part by the time you're Antigua and Barbuda? Where in Antigua are you from, and who are you? Who are the roots that brought you here to us?
Well, I was born at Halberton Hospital, and my parents lived on what is known as Factory Road, on the opposite side of Jonas Village, near to the Gem Cinema.
Jonas Village?
Yes, you see, I have to educate you as far as those things are concerned.
Gem Cinema is where Dumas is now, right?
Right, correct.
Dylan, Jonas.
They're on the other side.
Right.
They're my cousins.
Oh.
But because we lived on the opposite side of the road, there was a demarcation in terms of where you vote, which doctor you went to. We were on the other side of the road with the Clare Hall, Skerritt's pasture end of things. So I wanted to make that distinction because it has created some problems for us in the past. In terms of roots, my mother is from the Jonas Freeland clan, and my father is Nibbs with connections in Seaview Farm and Barbuda.
So the Jonas Freeland clan would be Jonas Village and Potters.
Yes.
Anywhere else?
Pickett's. Freeman's Village.
Oh Lord, here we
and
go.
It goes all over Antigua and Barbuda, so don't try to make a connection. You know?
You said just now that it was important to make the distinction because it creates problems. What kind of problems? I'm curious.
Well, as you would be aware, in terms of how Antigua is divided as far as constituencies, etc., are allocated, my mother, living on that side of the road, did not have the opportunity to vote for her brother. So in terms of problems, I can remember as a child, she said she had to go and defend something because somebody was accusing her of
not voting for her brother?
No, of trying to vote on the wrong side of the road, which wasn't true.
Oh dear.
So that is an outstanding memory of mine, just to say that, I was very careful. Some people thought when I said I'm from Factory Road, I was trying to be cute, and I didn't want to say I was from Potters. But based on how we had...
The demarcations
right,
you are not
from... Technically.
In the truest sense.
Right, technically.
A Patonian? Boy,
yeah, but my roots... No, my roots. I did say that. My grandparents, family, that's where I went to school, that's where I went to church and did social activities.
Oh, so you crossed the road to do everything else.
Right, because there was not much on the other side of the road. That's what I was trying to explain. Very little.
Okay, fair enough. Someone wants to know if you are in that range to purchase land in Barbuda. No, they don't buy land in Barbuda, Monique. If they settle. Because you said you had Barbudan roots on one side. So they wanted to know how far back your roots stretched.
It might be too far to get the land at this time. So,
your early years, your most... What memories do you have of your earliest years?
I have lots of memories. It depends on how far you want me to go. One of those earliest memories...
I want it to be pre-high school. If
I can remember something at 3 years old.
What?
Yes. I can remember a particular dress that my mother made. I can remember I was going to my cousin's first birthday party and it rained a lot and I thought I wasn't going to get to go.
Because you couldn't wear the dress, no?
No. Oh, because of how I needed to get there. You see, if you know the area... There was a lot of flash flooding that would take place as well.
Doesn't it still happen?
It still happens. So it's within that context that I'm sharing. I thought, this is going to mess up my party life. And but
wait, from 3 years old, you
were
about that life?
Yep. Oh, I needed to be there, and I did get to go to the party.
Really?
Yes.
Really? From your those formative years included.
I was a social animal.
Okay.
Despite what people see.
People think you're not a social.
Some people don't think that I'm not a party animal, but I love to party.
Okay.
And if you want me to go a little beyond that, I think my siblings would like to share from their memory and my memory. You're talking about 12, but maybe around that time, I actually owned a hotel in our yard, which I rented out rooms to my siblings. So I was in the business a very long time ago.
Yes, there's dead ear because I'm trying to figure out. How old were you?
I think about 12.
And you owned a what?
A hotel, a small hotel.
Please,
in my yard.
Please define small hotel.
Well, it was built by some of my older cousins because I had the concept. I had
built by your older cousins.
Yes.
Shirlene 12, you remember?
I know.
Go ahead. Okay.
It had rooms, and I used to rent out the rooms to my siblings. They had to pay so that they can eat in their room, and they were decorated in different, styles. And so I was in the business a very long time ago.
What prompted you to... Wait, hold on. No. This was like a real hotel? As in, I could go... This was not like, like when you're doing Dolly House.
It was a kind of... It were not miniature. People could actually fit in it. You could sit in it. I had like doilies. I had shells decorating. That was just...
Of course.
Who I was.
Why am I not surprised at the doilies and the decorations and so on? And your brothers and sisters used to pay you?
They used to rent, yeah.
They used to really, really rent for you?
Yes, they did.
Poor people. So, what primary school you went to?
Potters Primary.
She said that it's easy. Potters Primary. Dare I ask? Okay, I will ask. How was Potters Primary?
It was an excellent foundation for me.
Which teacher do you remember most? Or should I say teachers?
You see, it's amazing. I tell a story that there is a teacher, and I won't name her at this point, that I remember most, but it's not for a good thing.
Oh,
It was an incident.
You have one of those.
Yes. And I just said it to relatives that I'd like to do a face-to-face with that person one of these days, because I
Still
really
alive?
believe, and he's a young enough person.
Hopefully she doesn't remember.
She does remember.
Oh Lord, what did you do?
I didn't do anything.
Well, I have to blame you, and I can't blame the teacher.
No,
You know,
it was,
back in those days, you never blamed the
no,
student.
it wasn't anything like that. It was just that I think we, as teachers, people need to be careful what they say around children, because you describe who I am, and I was like that since a child. And a teacher should not be saying disparaging things about a young girl who wants to do things to a particular standard or with excellence.
Okay.
And it was not, it left a bitter taste in my mouth. But on the positive end, I enjoyed all of my teachers. And I wouldn't like to call names because I
Fair
could
enough.
get into trouble.
The trouble, yes, especially
But
if any of them are still
positively,
around.
yes. I think in terms of people who are still around, I think one of the persons who had the greatest influence on my life, because he was my first secondary school headmaster, was Mr. Edgar Davis.
I know that name.
Yes.
Okay.
But and then his sister might get jealous, because later on she had a great impact on my life, and then I could go on and on and on and on and on.
What secondary school you attended?
But that is a whole other story.
Well, that's why we're here.
Because I attended the Clear Hall Secondary School when it opened its doors, mainly because you were zoned at that time. You didn't have the opportunity to go to the school based on your ranking in the 11 plus. It was a new secondary school.
That makes so much
you
sense.
live in the area, you must attend that school.
Okay.
But then it was a junior secondary school, so I went from first to third form there, and then they split the group into two, sent some to Antigua girls, some to Princess Margaret.
And you had the unfortunate pleasure of going to high school, didn't you?
No, I did not. I got to go to Princess Margaret
Oh,
Secondary.
you got to go to the best school.
I am very proud. Look at what has happened to me. There is nothing at all that I would want to change about that.
Oh dear. Okay. Yes. So yeah. And how was Princess? Okay, let me behave myself. Clare Hall Secondary. Those first 3 years. What was school like then for you? I know I've never actually heard the junior secondary.
It was an amazing experience, and some of the ways that I evaluate it today, in my form, there was a time in Antigua when I could place every student in my form in an important role at the top of their game in some field. So what that school did was it produced very rounded individuals. Whether it is the person was a senior executive at Texaco, somebody was a nurse, somebody in tourism, in the police force.
Nice.
It produced well-rounded individuals. It was just not about the academics. So you were involved in sports. They had strong other social programs. The home economics program was really, really strong. So persons like myself, you learn to sew, you learn to cook. I mean,
Served you well.
It served me very well. Very, very well. I also remember that at that time we had what was known as those teachers who came out of the U.S.
Peace Corps
teachers, and they played a significant role in our development as well. Okay. And I do remember the first two that we got, Mr. Bessu and Mr. Prose.
Tell you the things you remember.
I do remember.
And Princess Margaret?
Again, another wonderful experience. I enjoyed the journey there and the ability to have done my first year of A-levels at Princess Margaret with the mixed team. Okay. Yeah, and I was in the first batch to go to the Antigua State College for A-levels.
When they brought everybody together?
Yes.
So
I only did 6A at State College because that was the first year we were doing it.
But you would have done 6B
B
at Princess Margaret.
Princess Margaret rotating because of the subjects I was taking. Okay. So I would go to Antigua Girls High for a particular subject and up to grammar school for a subject. So that's the experience I had.
Okay. So how was it having done that rotating thing throughout the schools? And I guess you would have been in a smaller sixth form at Princess Margaret School, and then you got to...
Well, it was known as sixth form.
Well, it was known as Princess Margaret.
Yeah, but it wasn't sixth form for Princess Margaret School. In my class, there were different uniforms. So I might be
uniforms?
Yeah, so I was doing geography, for example. I would have 3 girls from Antigua Girls High, 2 boys from grammar school. How many of us from Princess?
Oh.
So that's how sixth form
Okay.
was in those days. It's which subject was taught at which school.
So
And
then it kind of
everybody-
made sense to move
everybody around. So then
to
it
one
was
central location.
to the state college. Yes.
How was that though? How was that now no longer having to move around to the schools? Now you're in one central
Again,
location.
I quite enjoyed it. I know you were just talking about pan and panache. I can mention that Robin Magnuson was a part of my year, coming from, I think...
Robin, I don't know if that's a good thing.
It was a good thing.
Hold on, wait. Robin, that's good that you're that old or you're that young. But we will talk about that on Saturday.
One of the things he used to say, he said I was Dr. Francis's pet. So if he wanted to go down the hill, he would make sure that I'm walking
with him?
because Dr. Francis would not think that Shirlene Nibbs was doing anything wrong. So those are some of my memories, just as an example.
Boy, you came from Princess Margaret School, and you were one of Dr. Francis's pets.
Yes, I was. I was
Clearly-
always well behaved.
Clearly, it was the early days. No. When I went to State College, when we got up there, our ways were not their ways. So you were still in the early days when he hadn't deciphered anything.
So I was first. So
You said you did geography. What else?
History.
Uh-huh.
and general studies.
GP. Okay. All right. And you would have done the Cambridge.
Yes.
Was Cambridge Atlanta? Yeah, Cambridge. So after that, where did Shirlene go?
I had the opportunity. I got a scholarship to do hotel management in Barbados at Barbados Community College. Spent 2 wonderful years being exposed to the industry in a very practical way. And then I went on to UWI to do the degree.
In Barbados.
Initially for the first 2 years. And then the UWI program is in the Bahamas. Yes.
Right, okay.
So that's the route I took.
Interesting. So you're a Caribbean girl through and through.
Through and through.
Right. I mentioned you're a Caribbean girl through and through, and I'm going to throw to that to come back to Antigua because, and this is coming out of, I guess, my last 2 days, where for a country that is generally known to be open borders, open, inviting, we don't seem to be mentally open. In a broad sense, yes, and I'm going to explain because I have a question for you. From a little girl growing up, I've always been exposed to persons coming in Antigua. Munshot, yeah, Dominique this, but ever so often there's always a flare-up between us and them. In terms of your regional experience, tell me, in terms of this notion of insularity and we bigger than them, I'm jumping ahead to come back, but I wanted to get from you very early because sometimes I've gotten this notion that we, Antigua, have this we bigger than them feeling. And how does that play? I'm not even talking about the industry generally yet. I want to get your general perception.
Well, originally, from my perspective and my lens, we did not have that insular sort of experience. And so I was challenged when I went to Barbados to recognize that other territories had the view that you are expressing in relation to each other. But I want to come to a situation of last weekend where, I'm celebrating a big birthday. And I literally had 20 friends from across
integration
the region. In terms of roles, in terms of location, the mix was fantastic. So whether it was Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Vincent, Trinidad, they were all here, and we have a different experience and a different view, very much more open. When you speak about the Antiguan position, what I thought, we never thought we were bigger than them. I think we had an approach that although we were small, we had better opportunities than most other countries. And it was expressed in different ways. The way we dress, the certain things that we were exposed to. And I think it's tied to the industry that we went into earlier than some of the agricultural based countries. Perfect. So we were a little snobby about things,
Little?
Just a little snobby.
Okay.
But
right. So you see how that question brings us right back to the tourism industry.
And that's what made the difference.
Right. So we went into tourism early. We Antigua and Barbuda.
Yes.
And you were there in the early days.
Not so early days, no.
Okay, you were there in the
I was being born.
second round of the early days.
Okay.
We went in the
50s. Yeah, 59
I'm,
about.
I'm looking at the
Early boom days.
The boom.
Oh, the
yes,
early
the
boom days.
years. Yes.
I was a very young professional then, yes.
Right. So what was your first role in tourism when you came back home? Or what did you do when you got back home from studies?
You know what my first role was? I was a front desk teacher at the Antigua and Barbuda Hospitality Training Institute.
You were a teacher at the institute?
Yes, my first job. I walked through the doors of the institute in its current location at Dutchman's Bay.
How long had it been open?
The institute in that location or
in that location? So you basically
1981 I walked through the doors when they were open.
When they were opening at first.
Yes.
Prior to that, where was the institute located?
At the Antigua State College.
Right. So it was one of the options that you did at the state college.
No.
No? Not you. I mean, persons could choose.
Yeah,
not
correct.
you, the individual, because you already told us your path.
Yes.
All right. So you went over to,
and you need to know that this before the school went to Antigua State College, it was located at Marble Hill.
Marble Hill.
Yeah.
Marble Hill.
You wouldn't know the location. There was a particular old estate house in Marble Hill area that had the first hotel school.
I'm thinking Marble Hill. There's an old estate house
Somewhere,
in Marble Hill.
Well, it's not there anymore in that form. In the general vicinity, about just below Young World, that quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed my mentors, and I must name Miss Muriel Ahmad and Mrs. Constantia Thomas, Ambassador Arthur Thomas's mother, and Miss Audrey Scotland, who was not a lecturer but a part of the small team. And as women, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be around them at that time. I was a little hot-headed, and they will, tell me, that
you were hot-headed.
Oh, very.
When?
At that time, in terms of low tolerance for anything that was not up to standard. But I learned to temper my approach in terms of how I would respond to things like that.
I see.
Guided by these ladies, and it has served me well.
You were hot-headed.
Yes.
I feel so much better. I know that's no excuse, but I just had to say that. What tell us, share with us. I know you said it was a great experience and so on, but in terms of the role that the institute played from your perspective in our boom years of our industry.
Okay. At that time as well, we had the opportunity where there was a funded project by the ILO where they implemented most of the curriculum, gave us guidance. So it was a wonderful opportunity to learn from a global perspective what international standards were and how we could impart those to the younger ones in the industry. The school provided quite a bit of trained persons for the industry, and some of them really went on to do very well. What I like about using the girls in my class, for example, it was not just about going into a hotel. Some of them went into retail, some in the airline business, and they are holding top positions in those areas.
Nice.
So it was a wonderful time.
And so you taught front desk, and
Operations. Yes.
And what else? Overtime.
Everything else, hospitality, housekeeping, you name it. You teach within the various areas, because I have had the training both at Barbados Community College and at UWI in terms of tourism and hospitality. So I'm familiar with most of the areas and what's required.
Watching the institute develop over the years, because I know you would have started out offering a diploma, or you always did the associate's degree?
No, it was just a diploma.
It's a diploma.
Yeah,
and, then,
and certificates.
And then going up to the associate's degree. Your role, because I know you were there for a while and then you left for a while.
I was there for a short enough while, I'd call it that, because pretty soon after that, I had the opportunity through engaging with the tourism department at the time in something called Tourism Week, where we would do certain programs to evaluate taxi drivers, vendors, competitions. And in those days, I was an actress of some sort. And I think I was recognized by Mr. Calvert Roberts of Curtain Bluff, who was the GM at the time. I didn't know that. We spoke, and he indicated that, you could be doing something for us at Curtain Bluff for the opening of the season. I went. As far as I was concerned, there was a hall full of people. I did my due. And at the end of it, and so I thought, sorry for this, putting it this way, a white gentleman came up to me and said, I can't believe I have this kind of talent in my backyard, and I own an institute in Puerto Rico where you should be working. Send me your resume.
What?
Yes.
What?
You heard me. Which was the Caribbean Hospitality Training Institute at the time.
I get that, but we were just at Carlisle Bay.
No, Curtain Bluff.
Curtain Bluff, my apologies. We were just at Curtain Bluff.
I know, I did a session, pre-opening session for them.
With the staff.
With all staff. But at the time, I didn't realize the owner and general manager and
were in the house.
Were in the audience.
Perfect.
And so he came forward and said that. I sent my resume, and 2 weeks later, he called, said there was a ticket for me to go to Barbados for an interview. I went to Barbados, and the lady who was conducting a session said to me, look at this. Are you able to do this? And I said yes. And the rest is history. I had no interview. I just started to work. And I was
you went for an interview?
Yeah.
So what happened to the interview?
That was the interview.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
Well, I just did the work. And
what were you? What? If you can recall.
It was a session on attitudes and motivation.
Oh, perfect.
And it was right up my street. The content was very clear. I had training in delivery, and after
so
that,
So you're saying you would have done your studies, you would have had a stint at the Hospitality Institute.
Yes.
You're doing what you have to do. You got an invitation to go and do some training at one of our
local
esteemed hotels.
Yes.
And from there, you were just snapped up and snapped away.
And given a job with the Caribbean Hotel Association, which was based in Puerto Rico at the time.
To do training.
Yeah, but not in Puerto Rico.
Right.
I started to do regional training.
Clearly.
So I was always, going to Jamaica, Barbados, you name it. Almost every island I've done training and development.
Through the
region, through the CHA. And the CTO after a while. A lot.
So, I'm assuming Antigua would have also been on the list of countries that you would have done training in.
Yes, definitely.
Right.
Yes.
And so you got to do a regional stint. How was that in terms of your growth?
It lasted for 8 years.
What?
Yes. And I interacted with a lot of international agencies like American Express, who did a lot of funding for training. Then you have the European Union and all of their various funding, the projects. You name it. CEDA. I did a lot of training under the CEDA funding initiatives. It included writing manuals, writing a book, Careers in Tourism.
A book? What book?
Google.
Where? What book? Where's my copy? How come I don't have a copy?
That's so long ago.
So what is
so long ago.
I have a bookshelf that has on all Antiguan authors.
Yeah, but it's just a book about careers in tourism.
Okay.
And you can download it.
I'm sure it is still relevant today.
It's very relevant.
There you go. Do we use it in Antigua?
It was supposed to be used in the school system. I know it's been used in other countries, though.
Okay. So we don't use it in Antigua.
I can't say it's being used right now, but we did a lot of work. I think
you collect royalties for the book?
No, it's the property of the CTO.
Oh, shoot. I was hoping.
Yeah.
So we can do another one this time for you? We're coming to that. Yes, we're coming to that. We have time. Yes. So during the period that you were working, these 8 years, did we see you at
Let
home?
me just add to that in terms of the 8 years, because I have to put a perspective.
Right.
After about 3 years or so, the funding for that Caribbean Hospitality Training Institute, which was known as CHTI, by the European Union, required that it is based in a Commonwealth country. So it was located here in Antigua after a while.
Perfect.
Yeah, I needed to put that context.
Excellent.
Yeah. We started out in an office upstairs of Quinn Ferraras in Long Street, and then we moved up to Scottsdale in the Caribbean Maritime Building.
Nice.
Just some perspectives.
Didn't even know that.
I know a lot of people don't know.
And you see why we share these stories, so we can see how our people accomplish, because I think a lot of us take our people's accomplishments for granted.
Or some, we don't know their background and accomplishments, and we make judgments. There's that as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to We're the Ones on Point FM with Petra Williams, and our guest today in our February Legend series, yes, we have a Legend series, is Ms Shirlene Nibbs. And yes, we are familiar with Shirlene equals tourism and Shirlene equals training, Shirlene equals management, but we're exploring with her today the path to her excellence, want of a better word, because sometimes we take for granted how our people came to be, because once we do that, sometimes we treat them with a different level of respect that should be afforded and accorded to them. So here we are today, and she has shared with us her early years. For I Potter people, she come from the other side of the road. Yes, she have roots over on the Potter side, but she born on the other side of the road, okay? I had to throw that in, I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to behave. And we know that she has a smitherings of Barbuda-ness in her. I don't understand why Antigua and Barbuda people can't get along better, Or maybe just at the political level, because so many of us have Barbudan roots. And then she also shared her early days where she just charged people for rental rooms in the hotel at 12 years old, mind you, 12. Yes. And then, of course, since then we've looked at her academic life, and we're now delving deeper into her professional life. We're at her 8-year stint with the Caribbean Hospitality Training Institute. That's where we are, which at this time when we're speaking to her, this time in her timeline was located in Antigua. And so my next question to her is, so you were a trainer for this institution.
I started out as a trainer, then I became their training coordinator, then I became the training manager, and then the director of training, where I was recruiting all of the other trainers and managing all of the other trainers, managing the training schedule, sending people all over the region, coordinating air travel. It was like a traveling university, and I was in charge of that.
It died? Or it morphed?
It morphed, and it's not as active anymore.
Why do you think it morphed? I'm curious. Bet you some first world funding just didn't happen anymore.
That didn't happen, and at a particular juncture, they had a strategic alliance with what I told them at the time was the wrong company, and which would not be aligned with the Caribbean requirements. I remember I was doing my master's at that time, and I did a paper on how you choose your outsourcing partners, and they must have the same, values. Yes, exactly. And I enough for the then persons in charge to come back to me and say, I have to admit you were right.
But how was that served us, though?
There's a void.
There's still a void?
There's a void, but it provided an opportunity for persons like myself to be creative.
So is there a void, or we've gotten creative in filling the void?
We do fill the void.
Okay.
Yes. But it still could have been a great institution to have that traveling university, particularly for the tourism business.
Nibbs and Associates can become a traveling. I'm just.
It is.
We're not there yet.
It is. We do quite a bit in the region, but in terms of the scale.
Glass. You have any glass? Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to arrange some refreshments for Ms. Nibbs. Yes. Give me your impressions of our tourism industry in terms of the evolution, because as a trainer, and then a trainer of the trainers, and then a coordinator of the training of the trainers, and now with your own consultancy, which we'll speak about in a bit, I just want early up, because to know, what are your thoughts on where we are with this very important industry?
Are you referring to Antigua and Barbuda or the Caribbean as a region?
I would want to do both.
Okay. One of the
And the fact that you have to separate them worries me. But
yes, because one of the challenges that I've observed being around for so long and having worked with the two major regional organizations, and something that really bothers me, if tomorrow I went to one of those meetings, regional meetings, it makes me feel sad, because it seems as if we have not moved from 1988. Just as an example, we're talking about the same issues, whether it's airlift, whether it's regional travel, like we have not found solutions. And then in my mind, I've had to look and analyze, why are we still here? Part of the reason is that as a Caribbean set of nations, we don't practice government that is continuous. So every minister that comes to the table as a minister of tourism, and this is a regional problem, they want to have their own stamp, they want to go their own way, and we don't really go along the path of developing the industry the way we should in a strategic manner for the country that we're representing. So that is one I see as one of the problems.
that bothers me though, because I hear you, but isn't it that you know what? No, go ahead. I'll leave my question until after.
The other aspect is that we did not do as good a job as creating Caribbean institutions that would manage the industry. So I'm talking about, we're looking at what I perceive as the death of both the CHA and the CTO. They have been changing in terms of their roles and the way they...
But you said death.
And I'm serious about that. They're probably on life support.
Boy.
Yes. It's just, you asked me my views and I'm sharing my views.
I'm hearing. I'm not... And I'm appreciative.
One of the things that happened recently, and things, I want them to evolve, but sometimes we get irrational decisions being made without people understanding the history, the context, and the reason why these organizations exist. So you might have...
So the irrational decisions are being made by those persons responsible inside the organization,
not
or
just
by others outside?
Not sometimes it's made by a board of directors who are made up of ministers of the region who perhaps came to that role just for a year, and then, maybe next year they're not there, in the next 5 years they're not there. We're closing, for example, offices in London and New York. So those don't exist
Those
anymore.
would be the regional offices.
Yes, they've been closed. Right, yeah, that decision was made very recently.
But aren't those... No, go ahead. Never mind.
And I am not saying that there might not be a need for restructuring of the organization to fit the current environment, but it has to be done with the right information to make the right decisions.
But aren't they in a position to have the right information?
Not all the time.
Okay, there's dead air because
not all the time. I'm trying to explain to you that maybe for some countries it's critical that you respect your technicians in the roles, whether they are marketing directors or directors of tourism, etc.
So you answered my first question.
Exactly. I know you're bright, and I know you're hearing me, but you want me to say things.
So isn't it then that in terms of our tourism, very important tourism product, and I'm still thinking regional, I haven't come home yet because we're coming home, that there is a master plan somewhere that would have been developed by those persons who would have worked in, been trained in, been knowledgeable, gotten the data and so on, and would have had a strategic plan that really just needs to be supported by the directorship, which would have been comprised of the ministers from across the islands, because we all want the same thing. Did I say that too fast?
No, you didn't say it too fast.
Okay.
I indicated that I have sat through many of strategy sessions with the same plans that are not implemented. That's just for a bit of clarity. And that we want the same things until it is time for action. Then we become very selfish, and every island wants to big up or one up the other. And so we do not understand the importance of Brand Caribbean in the first instance, and that we're too small sometimes to be going as individual countries. I understand the need for us to have our own brand and own niches, but sometimes it's important that we get the picture that the Caribbean is a region, and just as people are going to other destinations on a regional scale, when we separate like that, we cannot get the impact we'd like in the bigger global tourism marketplace.
So I'm going to be the
Sorry.
pretend minister in the politician's chair and perspective. There is a regional plan, but in that regional plan, it could put me in the short term at a disadvantage in terms of being able to generate employment, badly needed employment in my country.
And that I understand and respect. But a lot of cases, we don't have national plans either.
Which brings me home. See, I was just leading right there. She walked right into that door. Lovely. So what are your views now in terms of how our Antigua Barbuda tourism product has evolved since you have been able to look at it from a trainer's perspective? Notice I give you a context?
Not a
trainer's perspective.
Why are you giving me a trainer's perspective? Why are you
I was teasing with the box, please.
I am a participant observer.
I agree.
Let me put it
Open
that
it up,
way.
yes.
And we have done quite a bit. We have a hard-working team of professionals. But I believe from a trainer's perspective, we're still giving lip service to the amount of monies we invest in product development, especially the human capital of the product. So we will always spend big monies, millions on marketing. But I am not convinced that people understand the relationship between the product and marketing. Sometimes you are spending big monies on marketing a product that doesn't really exist. So, for example, if I was to make one major change in terms of the product right now, and I see that it's coming along very slowly, but for me it's big. I think we could do better with the way we look as an environment. I'm big on curb appeal, and I was ecstatic yesterday because I was spending some time out in the country and coming through Old Road to go to Fig Tree Drive. I saw a police officer, I saw the media, and I thought something was really, really wrong. But I then recognized they were moving all of the old garbage and doing something with the curb appeal, and I was like, yes, thank you, Jesus. But that's just one small area, because sometimes I wonder if people don't drive through this country, this beautiful country, and how we've messed it up in terms of garbage and dumping and those kinds of things. So that's where I feel the two things in terms of investment. Note, there's no equity. We will easily spend monies on marketing and not enough is being put in the human side and the environmental side. Beautification, those kinds of things.
I have been a believer that if we, my concern, and I say this, I share my perspective to lead into my next question. I have been a firm believer that we lose the plot when we talk about the environment in Antigua and Barbuda, because I am adamant that I should clean it up for me. Clean it up for me, the resident, and then let me appreciate, give me a second, I don't know. Let me appreciate that I need a beautiful country for me. And then, because when we're home, we don't clean up our homes for the guests. We clean our homes for us. And the guests benefit by extension.
And that's why I think you might have missed the point when I said the human factor.
No, because I'm coming
the
to the human
mindset in terms of having national pride and cleaning up for yourself. So I'm not talking about cleaning it up for the visitor. I am talking about that investment in our people so that they understand how they should be living. And then that will transcend to the tourism sector.
So which brings me now to the investment component of our tourism, domestic investment. Do you think that we spend sufficiently on preparing our human resources to be participants in the industry?
The answer is no.
Do you think that in terms of careers in tourism and getting our people ready at the earliest possible age, that we do sufficient?
We have been very spotty about this. I reflecting right now, there's a Mrs. Richardson who just passed, the wife of one of our Anglican ministers, and I remember there was a group of teachers who particularly took on the concept of a program for primary schools called Hello Tourist, and that was an amazing program. But when that group of teachers, moved on, I don't feel there's continuity. I believe that we'll have to get into the mindset of the education leaders for them to understand that tourism is so critical. I've gone through the whole arguments regionally that it's in the social studies curriculum, so we don't need to have it as a separate subject, etc., etc. I'll just add one other thing. I was the OECS representative that wrote the Cape tourism curriculum and exams, etc. So at that level, we had that discussion because we still feel that we're not reaching the persons who are managing education to understand and accept tourism in the same manner that they accept areas like medicine and law and the other traditional careers.
But after 30-something, 40-something, maybe even 50-something
60 years.
60 years, tourism is no longer a niche for us. It really should be a traditional career.
It should be, but that's why I'm saying changing mindsets, investing in the human capital, not just from a technical competence perspective, but in terms of attitude and in terms of emotional intelligence to relate to this industry. We are not doing enough.
I know you interact with a lot of young people, and one of the things that I have noted over time is that tourism is often not among the first careers that they'll choose, anything in tourism. Many persons end up in tourism almost by default. My perspective, I'm hoping I'm wrong. And the reason why I'm raising that is that this whole service versus servitude versus
civility.
Right, that's the word I was going for next. Yes. As we speak about the whole education process, one of the things that I've noticed is that, like, my mother worked in tourism for years. My mother, I don't think she worked in anything else besides tourism. But she was gung-ho on ensuring that I did not enter tourism. She did a very good job, to my mind, in tourism, but she was adamant that tourism was not for me. And I think one of the challenges, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, you can tell me, and that's why I'm introducing this for your perspective, is that I don't think that we as a people still are appreciative of that tourism is a job like lawyer, medicine, I don't know.
I just think there's a whole misunderstanding of the industry. And it's the general population, even by policymakers. They don't quite get it. The education has to start from the very top. And I hear you saying your mom indicated that she didn't want you to be a part of the industry, but that is a widespread.
No, I realize that, but I'm just curious as to. I mean, then without you don't question it.
No,
but as you get older, you realize, oh, okay, but I
it's
guess
a lack
the
of
level that you come in.
No, it's a lack of understanding. I had a young man, I won't call his name, in a UWI program that I was teaching related to tourism. And I was a bit concerned that I thought, in our local parlance, I would say, I was thinking, boy, he too bright. Why is he in this group?
There you go.
I was thinking that.
Right.
I was thinking that. But I was going to find out what was the situation. He, in my class, he was a supervisor at Jumbi Bay in the food and beverage department. And so with my curiosity, I had to find out. I asked him, Tell me a little
Why
bit.
are you in tourism?
No. I didn't ask that question. I
Okay.
said, tell me a little bit more about yourself. He's a qualified accountant because that's what his mother sent him off to do. But his passion is the industry. And so he now is able to understand his food and beverage, able to do the cost control and all the other areas, and has been going straight up to the top. Young guy, and doing very well because that is his passion.
But if you'd permit me,
yes.
Notice that your first reaction was that he's too bright to be
No,
here. Not in a negative.
Not in a negative.
Right.
No, I knew there was more to him. This is a UWI program. It's a management program I'm teaching. But there was something that told me that his educational levels were already
Well defined and established. So
yes.
don't you think that somehow keeping along that line, that we don't automatically encourage our best to enter our most important industry?
That's it. We don't think that our brightest and best should enter the industry. And that's the mindset. But that's changing in some quarters, because on the opposite side of the coin, there are parents, and last year, for example, for World Tourism Day, I was able to suggest that there is a family where the grandmother, the mother, and now the son is in the industry, and he is one of our brightest and best. He was head boy of Antigua Grammar School. He got all the subjects. And early o'clock, Carrie has decided that he was going to be a part of the industry.
My sweetheart.
Yes. So I'm not saying that it's all a lost cause. There are some parents who have a different view. There are some parents who allow their children to choose and to follow their passion. Where there are others who are still blinded by the traditional views that their children should become a lawyer or a doctor if they're going to be seen as either intelligent or important in our society. And I'm saying that has to change. So when I talk about education, I am not just talking about skills development. I am talking about education, awareness, and training, which they have a distinct role to play from my perspective.
Do you think, I'm going to probably, leave off of that, but I think maybe in terms of the parental perspective on tourism, what I've noticed that the views depend to a large extent on where the parents sat in the industry. Sometimes, not all the time. So if you were middle management, you might have a different impression. If you were like laundry attendant, waitress, waiter, not necessarily moving through the industry, you would want to, because you would have done the quote-unquote grunt work, right? I wanted to just pivot a little and come back to tourism and youth development. And a bird told me about Tourism Cadet Corps. I just wanted to...
Because I was so passionate about the fact that, and it's linked. When I decided I was going to go into tourism, we had a particular neighbor whose son is one of our top doctors. And our neighbor said to my mother, "Oh, you're not going to allow your bright daughter to go and study tourism, are you?" Right? I mean, he's still alive and he's proud of me at this stage, but that was the mindset. So a lot of the things that I think of or do, include the Tourism Cadet Corps, when I came up with the concept and wrote the paper and implemented that program, is that I think that all students in the secondary school should be exposed to what the business is about and to have a level of immersion in the industry through attachments, through visiting, through getting involved in the various activities, and to understand that it's not just for those who are going into being a waitress or manager, because there are doctors in this country that are making their living from the industry. There are lawyers who are making their living from the industry. So there is a place for every career. And that's the message that I wanted to get across when I designed that program.
So what is that program, though? The Tourism cadet? Because we see it from the outside. We hear the application process. Occasionally we see them profiled somewhere, and then we see the graduation. But we don't know the machinations. It's a general overview of. You already explained why.
Yes.
The Tourism Cadet Corps. And how many years have this been around now?
It's probably from about 18 years now.
Okay, all right. So what happens in the program? An overview. Students
are recruited from about third, and we allow some A-level students to participate because they're of the age, within the age group. They are recruited into the program. The program is managed by a team of tourism professionals. The professionals engage other professionals to do guest lecturing. It takes place on a Friday afternoon. It has clear objectives to expose young people to the industry and to give them a clear understanding as to what the industry is about, how the industry benefits the country, and what is the value in terms of how we have a sustainable tourism product. What are those things that we need to preserve? What are some of the challenges, the impact of global warming, etc.? They're exposed to all facets of the industry. And I must say that I'm seeing major results. Okay. I mean, I go through a hotel and see somebody in a particular role, and they say, "Hi, Ms. Nibbs." And I just like, "Hi." They say, "You don't remember me? I was a tourism cadet. And that excites me. I'm watching one young lady who I thought was so quiet, so not exposed, and I'm not involved in the actual delivery. I must say to you, the principle of sustainability has been well established. We have younger professionals with better legs. They like to invite me on hikes, etc., and laugh when I'm closer to the back of the line. I still, pop in from time to time and engage. But I am happy to say that it has grown, it has morphed, it's keeping up with the times. Other ideas are contending for the program, and that's what makes me happy. It's not my program, it's a program that was birthed by me, but I think that there are other professionals who are carrying it along, and I'm proud of them.
So we've had Shirlene Nibbs, the trainer. Shirlene Nibbs, the trainer of trainers from a particular perspective. We've had Shirlene Nibbs, the program designer, to continue the product expansion, particularly the education component of tourism. And then we are familiar with, I'm leaving Nibbs and Associates so further down. We're familiar with Shirlene Nibbs returning to the Institute from whence she begun her career.
Yes. It's just not a quick return as you're seeing it, It was a journey too.
That's
because the whole expansion of the Institute was a European funded project. And I was a member of the team who did that whole expansion with a lady called Bernice Critchlow Earl out of Barbados, under the European Union funded project. I remember Dr. Williams, our current Governor General, was Minister of Tourism at that time. Okay. And just to say that I've been involved as a board member, and then when I became Director of Tourism, I was on that board, and now I've returned as chair. And it's still a challenge because I think verbally we have a commitment to the Institute, but I don't think that persons, in terms of giving it all of its resources, are fully committed. But it's not all gloom and doom. We recently have been engaged in the private sector in a more meaningful manner, and I am very, very hopeful for a future that is going to demonstrate a heavier involvement of the Antigua and Barbuda Tourism and Hotels Association.
I raised the issue of the Institute now because I wanted to bring a recent experience for your consideration. So a minister of government and I were having a conversation. He shall remain nameless. Is not the minister of tourism, and is not the prime minister. Clear them too. You have plenty more to choose from. And the conversation was his concern over ABHTI making students ready for the job market. He was of the view, notwithstanding that the Institute is there, that the training offered directly by the institutions. They bring them in, they do a little training thing and give them a stipend and then roll them over into employees. Offered a better foundation.
Impossible.
Than what ABHTI offered. So I posited to him that would it be possible for us to probably consider a mix where, yes, students, most of them, a lot of them, not all, a lot of them would leave school and say this is where they want to go, and they end up going to the institute before they get their feet wet in the industry. Because we had a conversation back and forth about the fact that they offer the on-the-job training and the practicum component of the institute, but he was adamant that, and I found it interesting because this is one of our that highest level policymaker making those kinds of conclusions.
It's not correct. I can say that you're a lecturer there. Mm-hmm. The holistic approach to the training at the institute is critical. Now, I'm not saying there's not a space for short courses, and you know that we run those according to needs as well. Mm-hmm. But, and also, it's not just young people who attend the institute. You're fully aware that they're very mature persons who make that decision, come there, and they do an excellent,
very well.
Very well. They do an excellent job. The other experience that I have had is that we might be teaching standards at the institute from a global perspective, and some organizations, what they call that quick training program, is just to have ready bodies and ready hands. Mm-hmm. And I will not sit down and allow any person to suggest that doing those kinds of programs is doing good for the people of Antigua and Barbuda.
Okay.
To me, that's just getting quick labor in a short time, and it's not appropriate.
We're going to pivot a bit again. Director of Tourism. You spent some time as Director of Tourism?
5 years.
No. And how was that? How was it in terms of being able to move our product forward?
You asked me a question earlier on in reference to if I ever had a bad job. That was not a bad job, not at all. I want to see and highlight that I had a hard start.
Okay.
A hard start because we have mindsets already that job was for a white male from overseas. And
but didn't we have directors that were not white males from overseas?
You see, you're not getting the whole context. I'm not saying that for that particular time and for that particular cabinet decision and what I was offered, I did not apply for the role. The cabinet of the day was looking for someone regionally, and I indicated in my journey that I was already wrapped up with the CTO and the CHA. So when they approached those organizations, they were told that you have a person right there that could be utilized. And this is not a story. This is reality. At the time, I remember I was down at CDB doing some consultancy work. And I received a call from the then Minister of Tourism saying that they would like to speak to me. And when I came home, that is what, transpired. I enjoyed that particular journey. It was a challenging time.
Stop. I have to take you back. I noticed you said you had a hard start.
Yes.
My favorite question when Antiguans get these kinds of positions, was the pay commensurate with the scope that you had to undergo?
Yes, it was. Okay. And it was my people, the Antiguan people, who had a problem with that. That was the hard start. I've kept the articles. First week, paycheck scandal. 2 weeks later, salary uproar. Hence my statement, if it was a white male, it would not have been a paycheck scandal, salary uproar. And you know me, I keep the information.
So why was it a paycheck scandal? Because you weren't...
Because they don't know me, they don't know my journey, who is she, where she came from, I wasn't light enough. I went through the whole spiel. But I was good.
Okay.
Trust you me.
Okay, go ahead.
You know me.
All right.
I love a challenge.
Cool. So how was the journey? Minus Antigua people.
No, it wasn't minus. My objective was to earn their respect. That I could be strategic, in the role, that we could get some movement on quite a few things. That is why up to this day, as you said, it's amazing. Tourism equals Shirlene Nibbs.
So what were your core objectives then?
There's an article where it was clearly stated, and I would do, because I'm a strategy type person. You write what your goals are, you go after them, and you implement them, and you take them off.
Yes.
That included quite a bit of awareness, public awareness, in terms of what the industry about, what is its value. To Antigua and Barbuda, we would do a lot of cleanup campaigns. We would do quite a bit in terms of the human resources, recognizing people. In those days, you would have a tourism awareness week, and you will engage all of the key stakeholders in terms of customs, immigration. There was more of a togetherness at the time as far as tourism was concerned. And I didn't do it alone. Then the Cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda provided the support and the resources. That wasn't a time when you had an important meeting or an important activity to go to, and you're probably hearing that, you can't go, or we don't have any money for that, because they're not making the link between your attendance, Antigua and Barbuda being involved and present, and then getting the benefits from whatever is to be derived. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Why 5 years?
Why 5 years? Because again,
why not 5+?
No, Shirley Nibbs as an individual, I was not from the traditional context that my parents would have put into my head, that if you had a job with government, it was a sure job, etc. I'm one of those persons who I'm very goal oriented. I set plans. I always have a plan, and I always have a contingency plan. So it's not easy to get me off if something doesn't go the way that it should go. And I always said going into the role that I was going to give myself 5 years, because I wanted to move on to something else. It's just who I am. I've gone through some years where there's some people who are saying, why you don't go back and be director of tourism? And I would tell them, I have no interest. That's not where I am in terms of my development, in terms of what I have planned for my life and where I see myself. It's just my reality.
To benchmark, and ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to We're the Ones on Point FM with Petra Williams, and my guest this afternoon is Legends in February, Ms Shirlene Nibbs, and we are looking at her, when you talk development of Antigua's tourism and as it transitions and evolves, at every stage somewhere Ms Nibbs is there, if not leading the charge right at the front, certainly training those persons who are involved in it. What was your stint? What period the director?
2000 to 2005.
Okay, cool. All right. I asked you before about the Antigua's tourism, how it mushroomed, grew, how it emerged over time. I wanted to ask a specific question now as it relates to us transitioning to, don't know what we transitioned from, I can say we transitioned to more all-inclusive style hotels, and the impact that would have, if any, on the human development, the human resource development. Notice the perspective I give you. I'm giving you, and then on our economy.
There are a couple of things and issues here that we must pay attention to. When the all-inclusive concept came to the region, I believe in terms of policy makers, people would just following emerging trends at the time, without paying attention to the size of your destination, what it is in terms of capacity you can carry, what balance you require within the industry. So for example, in the early years when I was in the industry, I love the fact that visitors came here, stayed at various hotels, but had the opportunity to do what we call a dine-around program. Hoteliers would get involved in this program through the Hotel Association, and persons will know in the restaurant business that they will have 7 persons coming from the Anchorage Hotel, 2 from Blue Waters, etc. And the people got a taste of Antigua and Barbuda. Also, those persons who had small local hotels would get visitors coming through those doors. With the arrival of the all-inclusive, I was very at the forefront of those saying we have to be cautious that we don't have too many of those hotels, because it closes off the society from the tourism activity of engaging people to people and the activities in the destinations that they visit.
The Antiguan thing.
The real authentic Antiguan experience will be lost. I am concerned that we didn't pay enough in terms of planning and policy in relation to the balance that's created. But even from the hotel's perspective, they're recognizing that they have to have different plans, after a while. So you have those who have just a European plan, which is like room only. Then you have a breakfast plan. You might have a full American plan, different plans. But just being totally all-inclusive is not the best approach for the society in terms of us reaping real benefits from the industry, whether it's not just economic, but the social benefits and the other benefits that's involved. I would caution that attention needs to be paid as to the type of property that we attract and we're developing.
Do we care? Do you get the feeling that we care?
I won't say that we don't care. I go back to my point. We do not know and we do not understand.
What the impact on the small Antiguan hotels? Do they have to evolve? Or, because to my mind, just from a look around, it seems like we're losing a lot of our Antiguan hotels.
That's a different problem. I believe that the smaller properties and the ownership of smaller properties, because I've been involved in that too, in terms of the OS had a whole small hotel.
I thought you were going to tell me you finally own your hotel from the 12-year-old one.
That's part of the dream.
Okay, we're coming to that just now.
But the smaller properties, people get into the hotel business from different perspective. I lived in London, I made some money, I'm retiring home, I can build a small property.
Marketing.
Sorry?
Marketing. They don't take all these other factors into consideration.
Not only that, they don't even, some people not even familiar with the standards within a small property. Sometimes they build a beautiful physical building, and then I've had inspections where the door could be a hazard in terms of how it opens, or they put the wrong size beds within the room, not proper utilization of space. There's so many things that we need to know about.
But who advises on things like those?
That's the problem.
Do we have, like, within our tourism department, tourism authority, DCA, I don't know where. So if I want to,
the Bureau of Standards can help, because
if I want to build a hotel tomorrow, a small hotel, Antiguan, where do I go?
I'm not sure if I'm on.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you go? There's no one stop for you to get assistance, but I would suggest that you speak to you will stop at the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority. That's one component. You could, in
terms of the standards to build to.
The standards now are at tourism,
okay.
The tourism department. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And those are that's a recent development.
That's good.
Yes, it's a good thing.
We're making progress.
They've been long in coming, but they're finally here.
Now, I know that in terms of acknowledgement, let me see if I get some assistance. In terms of acknowledgement, you're not hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay, in terms of acknowledgement, because you have been a faithful soldier, faithful servant. I don't like servant. You've been a faithful member of the army that works for the development of our country. I'm trying to recall the acknowledgements that you've received for service. So I want you to share some of those with me.
For service?
Service rendered to the people of Antigua and Barbuda. Like, we give a national award, we give them kind of things there, and so on and so forth. None of those have crossed your path?
Recently, I have been given MBE, and
she says that's so in passing. MBE. What is that? MBE?
Member of the British Empire.
Oh, okay.
And
just in passant. Go ahead.
I think I haven't done any of the things that I've done for recognition. That's the first thing. So you know,
that's a by the by.
That's that's.
But it's an MBA in honor of
my contribution in the area of tourism and also to community development, because there are lots of things that I do in private that
she doesn't want to talk about.
No, I don't want to talk about, but just my natural personality.
Like,
I'm humble. I do not like to speak about the things that I do.
That is not what I'm asking you.
Like,
I'm asking about your humbleness and the things. I want to know, in general context, that what would Shirlene be doing for community development? What does Shirlene do for community development? Some of the yes,
things.
Please.
I've been involved in quite a few social service clubs and done work through them. That's one aspect.
Optimist.
And Rotaract. I was the first female Rotaract president.
Oh, okay. See.
And head of the community services group. Just very involved. But I also take on what I call private Shirlene Nibbs projects. So it could be a young man or young woman in a community, whether it's Potters or Pickett's or someplace. I have sent children to school, paid school fees that nobody knows about, or to music lessons, or just to give them an opportunity to be the best that they can be.
So she says that so humbly. She done do plenty. She does not gonna let me talk about them, but she does do plenty. And I wouldn't bring them here because she wouldn't like that, but they have spoken and she's done quite a lot of that. Shirlene, you are going to stay in service, tourism and service. Tell us about Nibbs and Associates.
Nibbs and Associates is a regional...
You can't be humble about that. So go ahead.
It's a regional consulting company that I established, and we provide services in tourism, training and development, human resources support, and all of the areas that I have a background in to organizations, not just in Antigua, but throughout the Caribbean region.
How has it been going?
It is wonderful. I really feel that people value what contributions I make through the activities that we engage in with their organizations. And last Saturday, I engaged with an organization here, maybe 2 weeks ago, a very important government organization that, people would not even understand that they do work of that nature. And one young lady wrote me a note. She said, I hope you're not going to be upset, but I got your number. But I needed to express how you have impacted my life, not just my work life, but my total life, for having engaged with you for the last couple of days. And as I read how she wrote it, I was moved to tears, because the work has value. And I think that's what I'm called to do.
But you know the work has value.
I know, but every now and again you have to be reminded.
Yes, the reinforcement is always good.
It's good.
Shirlene, the consummate, always pulled together, well packaged individual. Ladies and gentlemen, I was planning to get her to model, but she wasn't going to have any of it. What goes into Shirlene? You ever have a bad dress day?
You would have to tell me that.
I have never seen one, so I want to know if there has been a day when you may have somehow run out the house and then realized, no,
that's not me. That's just not me. Again, in terms of background, I say to people, my mother, if she was in 2020, you would have been calling her. She would have been in the league of the Calvinesses, etc., etc. So I grew up with my mother being the dressmaker, as they call them, seamstress.
Let me explain something to you.
And so
I have to stop you there, because my mother,
she's
not a seamstress, but she is what you call a fashion diva. She doesn't ever walk careless.
And so what happened?
And I walk careless. So I'm just gonna let you know, your mother's influence is clear.
No, it's not her influence.
No, I'm saying, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will transition.
No, it's not her influence. She was not like me at all in that sense. But I think growing up in that environment, I recall as a young child, I like to look through the McCall's fashion books, as they call it. It was just something that I had an interest in. And I really just enjoy putting myself together well.
You always, Shirlene, you go beach. I saw a photo of you at the beach the other day. I'm like, what? This is a beach. No strand. See me blow up the picture. You know me. But ladies and gentlemen, I tease her about this all the while. See me blow the picture up and pulling through. And it's like, in fact, I'll tell y'all the picture don't like this right?
I'll give you a quick joke. I went on a trip with some of my regional friends. We were in Orlando, and it was late evening. We all, showered, night dress, and we were coming out to have a chat. And I came out of the room to sit with them, and one of them saying, "Wait, you sure she don't not going to a nightclub or something? Because she can't be, dressed in her bed wear, looking like that."
Your bed hair was delicious.
They said that, and I said, and let me just tell you, I didn't buy it. My 84-year-old auntie was put it in one of my packages for my birthday. So
it's everybody.
So it's everybody.
No, they know your taste, so they just make
they
sure
know
that
my taste, but they are all the same. Most of them are the same. They are like that. So I'm not alone.
Yeah, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you this much: my early interactions with Shirley, and she doesn't even know. I don't have bad dress days, because that's just me. The piece of shorts and the piece of top and everything. And she was standing up next to me. She didn't say anything, thankfully. Thankfully. She didn't say it. You could feel it. So as a rule, anytime I'm going to be in the room with her, I don't go. So like today, I forgot my lipstick. I don't, it forces me to raise the game. I don't like
And do you tell them that when you raise the game and I'm not around, I actually call you or WhatsApp you and say that was wonderful? I try to encourage you. I said that was superb. You look fantastic.
I don't know how you find the energy to do this.
There's no energy. It's not
yes,
energy.
there is energy.
There's no energy. No, it's not. You know what you're doing. You know what you like.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you via radio, she's wearing orange. Is the theme? No, is orange is a dominant color? I don't even know what is a dominant color.
Yes.
But it's all very well put together. The necklace is just the face, everything. Woman, look. I need to be your next project. Don't waste your energy. Don't waste your energy. Don't waste your energy. Do not waste your energy.
You'll be held accountable when you don't come up to the standard.
That is the problem. I afraid you on your accountability.
Yes.
So last question, two questions for you. When we get in the hotel, is it the hotel or a training school? Or the regional training school? I'm giving you options. Which one or which one?
It could be all.
Oh, okay, fine.
Could be all. I'm not going to limit myself.
But we are getting the hotel.
Not in the traditional sense of a hotel. I am more about a bed and breakfast type relationship.
That works.
Because you didn't explore the part of me where I really like to cook. And I would
Lord, I forget. You know why? You didn't explore that part? Over 5 years now, I'm supposed to be by Shirlene for this food, and I ain't reach it.
It's your fault.
It's not my fault.
It's your fault.
No. And you cook, and she cooks anything?
Almost everything. Whether it's local, international cuisine, a mystery basket. I pride myself Kenny. That I can cook.
Who's the baby? You are Kenny.
Oh, we love that question. I'm the first and he's the last of 4. So he's like, yeah.
It's who I'll spoil him though. You too?
No, I don't do that.
Right. You spoil Yendi?
No, I don't do that either.
Okay. You wouldn't know if I'm looking at how Yendi addresses you. But yeah, my last thing for you, because you come from, I've seen you with your siblings, and you see a bond there, the kind of bond that I like to explore when we say we're the ones, because it keeps us together. Family life.
The most important thing to me, I think that my parents and grandparents did a fantastic job in keeping us together. I am so impressed with how we relate to each other, and I'm not talking here about just brothers and sisters and the core family, the cousins. Everybody looks out for everybody. We take care of each other, and we spend a lot of time over a meal. That's very important. We pray together. We go to church. All of that. After church, we gather And it's so important. We have some traditions in the family. I love my family, and they love me too. I know that. So sometimes I say, when you feel challenged where somebody's going to tell me, somebody say, oh, they don't like she tall. I'm saying, tell them I'm not looking friends. I have so many friends and cousins, and I mean my friends who are here.
Don't forget the girlfriends.
Yeah, but they last. They've been my friends for 30-something years.
Yeah, if they uprooted themselves and come here for one big celebration.
They did. They all did. I mean, one particular ambassador was in. When I sent her the invitation, she said, oh, my God, I'm going to be in Chile, so I'm not going to be able to make it. And I was cool. And then 2 days later, she said, yes, I got the office to change my flight. I'll be there. And that made me feel so good.
There's nothing like celebrating with friends.
Yes, and family.
And family. And
if I could
the family's given,
If I could do it bigger, there'll be...
No, it's okay.
Because of the numbers, we had to have
the style at which you do it. You have to have quality control. Plus, I'm coming over for lunch cooked by Shirlene. So I'm good. Good.
You're all right. Okay.
Parting shot. You are... Should I give you Prime Minister or Minister of Tourism? Pick which one you want. Pick one. So I can compose my question.
Well, I would like to be Governor General.
No, sir. The Governor General has no power.
Why?
Governor General has no power.
So why you want to give
General has no power. You have Prime Minister.
Yeah, but that is one of the areas of Shirlene Nibbs that a lot of people don't understand.
What? The protocol?
No, not a protocol.
What?
The fact that power does not mean that much to me that I have to go after it.
Of course not. You have it every day, so it shouldn't mean anything to you. Back to my question you're trying to avoid. You are, pick one, Prime Minister or Minister of Tourism?
Prime Minister.
You are Prime Minister for, I'm giving you a whole long time, for a year. What would Antigua look like?
First, one of my priority projects would be to clean up St. John's, and I don't mean that just from a physical sense. I'm bothered by the fact that we allow people to abuse the whole city in terms of being on the sidewalks in a way that's not. I
deliberately didn't ask you that question.
Well, I mean,
into it, but go ahead.
I'm okay because it's one of my issues. I would want to preserve some of the traditional architecture of our buildings. I would encourage people to upkeep their property. Maybe come up with a creative idea of giving them some sort of concession on paints, so that we paint every 5 years at least. That's just from a city perspective.
Right.
I would make sure that we go back to such community activities like backyard gardening competitions, beautification, because I think all these things will spill off into you feeding yourself and impacting our industry as well. The whole question of engaging persons in village traditional activities.
So clearly, she's right. Prime Minister, because she got culture, she got tourism.
Yeah, it's a whole range of things that I would get done.
Well, last question.
But
go ahead.
I know I'd have to make some hard decisions that people won't like, because I think
was wondering.
I think people have become so accustomed to leaders sometimes who would bend to their whims and fancies. I can say whatever I want to do, because as some people like to say to me, I didn't go to the polls, nobody voted for me, so you can have your idealistic ideas. But I think the time has come, as far as Antigua and Barbuda is concerned, that we make some hard decisions so we can take our country back to the high standards that we're accustomed to, as far as some of these areas that we've been exploring are concerned.
What's the one low-hanging fruit that you think we have yet to touch? Low-hanging, so it's easy, but we just overlook it.
The same beautification program that has...
Clearly that's not low-hanging, because it's so hard.
No, I told you they've started. So you just have to have full commitment and everybody on board. I really believe it can happen. I mean, I pay attention if I'm driving through. There's some communities that I heard that do it well. You know, some places like Liberta and so on, they're cleaner than some other areas. I pay attention. I drive through this country and I do pay attention. I think we can get village companies.
Everybody else to get there.
Yeah, to get on board.
What's the one thing you'd want us to remember about Shirlene into perpetuity? Just one thing.
That she cares enough about people to do whatever she can and contribute to unleashing their potential.
See how she's smart? She'll take the one thing that discover everything. Fair enough. All right. Lady Nibbs, my first February legend. It has been a pleasure. I know that 1.5 hours is not enough to do all of Shirlene. I try to pick bits and pieces so that I hope our audience get
the essence.
Yes, that's what I was looking for, because we know Shirlene does tourism and we know that she does training, but we didn't know, where, how, why. So we tried to pull all of that. I hope if you ever get to listen to this again, all your colleagues will tell you that I did justice to unearthing
the journey.
Yes, I hope so. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to We're the Ones on Point FM. It's We're the Ones Wednesday with Petra Williams, and our feature guest today, Legend February, was Shirlene Nibbs. It was quite an educational experience for me, because I'm always open to learning, and I learned so much more about our tourism industry. I have some places to go look for out of this. Prior to this, of course, we had Panache, and just a reminder, if she's here, she will be with me dancing at Panache, because there's people in them. If not, she'll be there with me in spirit. This Saturday, 7:30, we will be at Panache headquarters on Factory Road, just up from where Shirlene born and grew up. And admission is free, so come and bring a donation. We need to support our young people and our cultural development. And prior to that, we were talking about the February being the Heart Month with the Heart and Stroke Association, and we were looking at the fact that, do you know that heart disease is still the number one killer in Antigua and Barbuda? It oscillates with cancer, but right now it's sitting in that number one spot. And so it behoves us as citizens to, one, get checked. Know your status. It's not just about HIV that should have that tagline. Know your heart. And 2, eat better and exercise well. And of course, I come full circle with Ms. Nibbs, who is still here with us, and we want to congratulate her. She is now an MBE level, and I think she's going to actually do the deed and greet the queen. Boy, watch that. Elegance meet elegance. Whoa, I want a picture. No, I want a video. When you do that courtesy.
When I'm playing it back, I'll invite you.
Because you know you can do that in style. You have a hat? You don't buy the hat already?
I am totally ready to leave here on Sunday.
Oh, you leave on I'm well timed. Sunday. I want to see that bad hat. I'm sorry. I can't use bad in the same sentence with Shirlene. I want to see that very elegant. You can coif. Let me behave myself. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying with us. This has been Petra Williams on We Are the Ones. And see you next Wednesday. We should be equally entertaining. This is Petra Williams from We're the Ones signing out. Have a good evening.
Carnival does be hot and spicy when Calypso is there.